Being a lender and an investor are two ways where you could see different angles to the whole deal. It gives you different tools and avenues as to you could be a debt holder, you could be an equity holder.
So if someone is newer and they're trying to joint venture with someone like yourself, like what are some of the things that you look for in someone who's new?
Most of my existing JV holders at this time, they were my regular borrowers to begin with. They liked me, I liked their style. And then we thought as to, hey, let's do these deals together, put our efforts and monies into these type of deals together.
That's what real estate is. It's just being a problem solver. And I say the faster you can get kicked in the nuts, the faster you learn, because you don't learn from the wins, you learn from the losses.
Goals were very, very crisp. They were very, very traditional. Most of the time, initially, they were told by other people to me as to this is how your goal should be, which I kept on following like a bookwork.
At this point, how much have you funded for other people's deals as a lender?
Most investors only see deals from one side of the table. Today's guest is both the investor and the lender, and that perspective changes everything. Today I'm joined by Hemant Mahajan. He's a Bay Area real estate developer, hard money lender, and founder of Newbridge Equity, and author of Buying Back Your Life. So, Hemant, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course. So, how does seeing deals from both sides of the table as a lender and an investor change the way you evaluate risk and opportunity in real estate?
That's a good question. Being a lender and an investor are two ways where you could see different angles to the whole deal. It gives you different tools and avenues as to you could be a debt holder, you could be an equity holder being the owner, debt holder could be the lender. It gives you more avenues, tools, especially if deals go south. If there are situations like, let's say something gets into litigation or something like that, it just gives you a few more extra tools for you to find another exit or another salvaging of the deal.
So which one came first for you? Were you the investor first or the lender?
I actually started my career with being a lender. I was working in tech, life was good, and I wanted to do something on real estate, and I wanted to not invest too much of my time. And I had some access to some capital assets, which I started learning about, and then lending came very, very natural to me. And I associated with myself with some local hard money lenders, brokers. They taught me the game initially. They offered me a few deals. After maybe fourth or fifth one they offered me, I picked one of them, and then the steady stream of cash flow started coming, like check money in a mailbox, which I really liked, and I really scaled it up.
Yeah, most people, when they get into investing, they start off as the active investor. And from your end, you started from being the lender, which is the great thing. That's passive, right? You just said mailbox money. And one thing I really want to point out that you said is you started working with other people first, and then eventually you started Newbridge Equity, I'm assuming, right? So you kind of had a mentor for first 4 or 5 deals, and then eventually you started the Newbridge Equity.
Actually, my mentors was the experience itself. And when I started over about 15 years ago, it was hard to get a formal mentor. And getting a mentor in hard money space is even harder now because it's not seen or looked as a steady investment strategy. And my mentors were experienced, and also the brokers I worked with. I was skeptical to begin with as to he's a salesperson too. He's out there to sell me deals. So I have to pick up everything from him from that angle as to, because he's out there to sell me some loans where he's going to make commission. So he has a vested interest. But those initial folks I met through, they were pretty good in educating me. They had written books on the topics too. They were an authority. They were very prominent figures here locally. I'm glad I worked with them. I'm glad that they came to my life, and it was a win-win for all of us.
If people don't know what hard money is, could you describe what it is in an easy term?
Hard money. Actually, hard money is a misnomer. Hard money, in my view, should be labeled something as simple and easy to get money. But somehow they name it as hard money because the terms could be harder. It works very well for investors. It works very well for fix and flippers, or it works very well for any time, generally, when you're trying to borrow money quickly, easily, and especially for a real estate project. So underwriting is a lot easier. Hard money is mostly based on assets and to some extent on your experience. It is not really based on your credit, although some lenders, they do check it initially, but it's most about having quick and easy access to money with a little premium you pay on interest rates and points as compared to a regular bank lender.
Are interest rates looking right now with the hard money lending environment versus how they were, say, a year ago?
I will address based on the spread. I mean, if you look at the bank money, you go to Wells Fargo and borrow money for your investment property or your primary home too, and actual hard money rates. To me, they are least. The spread between the two is minimum at this time. When I started, that spread used to be, I mean, if the regular loans were about 3-4%, hard money used to be 12+%. So there was an easy 8% spread. But nowadays, I mean, I see a regular mortgage is about 6, and hard money starts at 8 right nowadays. If you get a good 50-60% loan to value loan, there's so many California lenders and actual billion-dollar companies who lend you money at 8%. So that spread is very, very little. They ask you very few questions. And if it makes investment sense for you, if it happens to be a good debt for you, hard money is a good actual resource available to a lot of investors.
That 8% though, is that with experience? Because for my very first couple flips, my interest rate I think was around 10.5. So how do you have access to this 8%? Do you need to have several deals under your belt?
Absolutely. I mean, real estate is about relationship. And if you convince your lender and you put your paperwork properly or put your portfolio properly, especially initially, and you understand their criteria, what are they going to check and not check, then you tend to get good rates. And again, I mean, if you make a good deal and you pay them as you promise and you exit as you promise, then those hard money lenders becomes more of your friends and they start giving you more favorable terms. Times, I mean, if you don't have that, this could be a tip which some of the new folks, they may not take down. Then you put somebody else with you who's much more experienced. They would not only help you in getting preferred loans or better term loans, but also in case there is a hiccup and you have a coach or a mentor on your side, it helps on a lot of those decisions as well.
Mm-hmm. As a lender, what are some of the big things that you look out for, especially as someone new who wants to get into flipping for the first time? Like as far as underwriting it or just looking at their experience, say they have no experience, but they don't have a partner. Like what are the things that you look for to make sure, is it just a really good deal? Like, is that what makes you lend with someone who's totally brand new?
So you're asking if a borrower approaches me and I'm trying to lend them money, what would I be looking at?
Yes. And just if I was totally new, I was wanting to get into investing, fix and flipping, or doing a burr or anything, and I was having trouble finding a hard money lender because I don't have any experience. Like as a lender, like what are you looking for?
That is true. Good question. Lending is primarily, especially hard money lending, is going to be predominantly asset based. You have to have a good asset, and for the lender, you have to have a reasonable equity. We call it protective equity left in. Let's say a house is worth 100K, and the borrower borrows about 80K, then 20K is a protective equity for the lender. That is predominantly the underlying criteria for lending. However, there are other things too. We as humans like to do business with people who we trust. To me, if there is no trust, there is no business. And we do tend to see people who we see it's going to be a win-win. At least I see it. I mean, there are lenders who have that strategy of lend to own. That doesn't happen to be mine. But we do want to see a win-win as to where borrowers come in, they borrow money, they do their exits, they do their learning, and they move on to doing better and better deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. At this point, how much have you funded for other people's deals as a lender?
I have about eight deals going on at this time, some commercial, some residential. I won't go into specifics in dollars and cents as to that many is out, that much is out. But I get a good million. I mean, I get a good mix of properties, Bay Area to Sacramento, sometimes LA as well. And some of the projects happen to be multiples of millions, and some of them happen to be commercial, like townhomes and those projects. Like,
yeah, but when did Newbridge Equity come? Because you said at first you were working with someone else for the first like 4 or 5 deals. So when did Newbridge Equity actually come into light?
So when you do lending, and if you do enough, California state and maybe a lot of other states too, they expect you to formalize your business. They want you to have a lending license. For example, I mean, if you do, I don't know what that exact number is, maybe more than 5 loans a year, and then the state expects you to get a license and do all that stuff. And also, I mean, if you are not licensed, then you cannot, the usury kicks in. Usury means you cannot charge more than certain percentage interest rates, and that happens to be a number around 10% nowadays. It's based on a lot of other things too, but that number is almost about 10%. If you have a lending deal, you want to charge more than 10%, you have to have a license. So for me, that was more of a driver. when I wanted to have more flexibility doing directly deals with the borrowers myself rather than going through a broker, and trying to do more aggressive deals, which brokers may or may not look at or pass on to me. Then about 7-8 years ago, I found that time that is a time for me to formalize myself, get a license, and put a formal company around lending. And I got my CFL license, California Finance Lender, and I wanted to be an exempt lender where I could bypass those usury laws and be able to charge more interest rate. And also, since I was doing more than 5 loans a year, my attorney started telling me as to, hey, you have to formalize your business and run it like a business and follow all the rules which the state asks you to do. And that's how it founded.
Yeah. And when was this? When was it founded?
It's been about, I think it was founded 2017. So about 8 years now. Yeah.
Okay. And so you said this year you have about 8 deals that you're funding. How many deals have you done since 2018 or 2017?
I haven't counted the whole number per se, but it'll be, almost getting close to 100. Yeah. And I also used to do non-performing notes too when I started, and I did a few of those too. So, but that was a total different ball game. And but most of my business had been hard money loans.
Okay. I know you said you try and do things that most maybe other lenders maybe not want to do, but what separates Newbridge Equity from other hard money lenders? I know I was looking on your website. It says you do second position loans and liens, which most hard money lenders don't do, on top of like the first position notes also. But what separates Newbridge Equity from other lenders?
Firstly, I'm not typically competing with a typical hard money lender. I have this lending company, which is a formal company, and I use that as a strategy to do joint ventures with other folks who bring some other qualities to the table, or who bring other responsibilities to the table, which I do not want to do. I love to joint venture with contractors, real estate agents, or anybody who could get a good deal, or I could get a good deal, and we get together, and combining a debt provider and combining an equity holder together, and you use both tools to structure your deals, you tend to get better deal structure. Generally, if you put debt together, it's very easy and very easy to understand where to put contracts together. If the similar contract you want to put together as a, hey, let's open up an LLC, let's start flipping homes, and I become X% and you become X% owner, this is what I do. In my view, it has chances of blowing up. It's very hard to put those contracts together, especially when things go south. Then you have limited tools to salvage your deals. To give you an example as to, let's say you are building and then somebody falls on your building or something, and this guy places it goes into litigation, and they want to charge the contractors, the property owners, as to, hey, there are damages, so we are going to sue you and all that. And then if there is a lien out there on the property and there is less equity available, the attorneys and other people will have a less of an incentive to get you as a property owner versus if the property had tons of equity and you put all your money in and the whole property is not encumbered. They see a lot of equity. That makes you a litigation target in a way. And there are a lot of other strategies too when you combine as a debt holder and an equity holder. There are a lot of other strategies, advanced strategies, I would say, which come in play and which are helpful in salvaging complex deals.
Can you talk about an example of like a very complex deal that you joint ventured with someone and how you structured it?
I'll tell you a simple one which I did. Complex would be, I think it'll be a long story. So we did these 9 townhomes in Union City, Bay Area. The previous owner had 7 of them built and the 9 were there to be built. And they had permits which were expired. And this borrower, now a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, came to me, and he mentioned his experience in that space, in that area, and dealing with the city and all the licenses he was holding to be able to finish the whole project. I came in, I gave him all the funds to do to purchase the land, and he was responsible for bringing in all the money step by step to build those, and the building was his forte. And that's how we structured that deal. Initial thing was that within 6 months, we should be able to get the permits revived and get going on it. Actually, it took over a year to get the whole permits, because when you go to a city and expired permit, that was a learning thing for me. It's an open can of worms. It could go the way you think it'll go. It may not go the way you think it'll go. Because to give you an example, we had the existing foundations laid up in some of those units, and we wanted to grandfather them and be able to use it rather than demo and redo the whole thing for obvious reasons, cost and time. Then they wanted us to get all those folks with advanced X-ray machines and say, hey, is there corrosion in these? We need a structure engineer who could certify on this is this. We need some special inspections. So all those things took time. If this guy were to be with some other lender who does not understand these things, or who are totally a debt lender and not a JV lender type of a lender, I mean, that project would have been foreclosed by now because lenders would not wait that long. And so that's where a combination of debt and equity could come in play, and have the deals which are a little tricky, which are a little sketchy, they could have a little flexibility on how the execution could happen.
So just to summarize, there was someone who had 9 townhouses already built, or 7 townhouses that were built. They were looking to build another 9, and they ran out of permits. And so you came in with the debt, and then he had to come in with the equity.
So these 9 townhomes were purchased with as a new person. The original 7, they were with the previous owner, and this new owner who became a borrower and a partner, he got the nine of those. And I chose to put this deal together as a debt owner, but with the joint venture terms.
Okay. And then how did was it just like 50-50, or was it as far as like the equity in the end?
It was not 50-50 to begin with. It was more of a combination of as to, hey, I mean, I will charge you X for putting my money in, and based on the profit which you make, and I'll have an equity in that profit as well. So they have an incentive to finish these, I mean, in time, and also with enough margins in there. I mean, time is money in these projects, especially when you're borrowing money. So there is a good incentive for all of us to finish these in time, and that's what I track and monitor and make sure that those things come out in and out in time, and we all are able to get our equity out and then move on to next new deals.
Yeah. Real estate is such a big partnership and teamwork sport. I mean, I know a lot of people say you should be very careful about who you partner with, which I agree with, but I think doing this JV structure is awesome because you're able to take down these really complex situations, like you're saying. Did this structure or investing go good for this deal? Did the outcome turn out good?
And there were delays, much more delays in this deal specifically. I think the borrower is very happy that he has me on this lender as a flexible lender. I mean, who understands construction and who understands what flexibility could bring to these type of deals which go south. And again, I'm discussing sort of a semi-distress or a distressed deal, which execution didn't go as expected. If this were any other lender, I mean, they would have straight gone in and foreclosed and taken over the project, taken over all the equity and time and time and effort which this borrower put in place, and taken it over, and that would have been outcome. That is not the case now. I mean, I think I'm almost close to realizing my initial investment and my side of profits, and if there is any leftover, that could propagate to rest of the project which is not built, but they are now in a position to pay me off from what they have built so far, so that it could be a good win-win, and they are free to now take down rest of the projects and then finish them and call it a day. But delays, I mean, to summarize, I mean, delays in general, they could have been foreclosed upon. With me, that did not happen, and I was flexible enough to understand their situation, why they got into this. And we were in constant touch with as to, hey, what next step is going to be, how about this, and we looked at that complex situation together, and I'm happy that we remedy it.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're a lender. You sound like a unicorn, honestly, because most lenders, as you were saying in the beginning, look to foreclose or take the property back, right? And so what makes you want to be different and just work through these complex situations together and just find a solution as opposed to just taking the property back? Like, what makes you want to do that?
There is definitely a profit motive there. I mean, if I do these type of joint ventures, I like to do joint ventures. If you do joint ventures, you tend to make a little more money, but joint ventures tend to be a lot more riskier. And combining debt and equity, I have this system of putting these deals together where I mean, as a lender or as a joint venture holder, I could provide flexibility which is needed on projects which have sort of an unknown thing as to, hey, how long is it gonna take? How long is it gonna take to get permits on this? Sometimes it's more of a mystery. So, with this type of a structure, I was able to take that out and provide good solutions to this borrower partner of mine.
So if someone is newer and they're trying to joint venture with someone like yourself, like what are some of the things that you look for in someone who's new? Like how can they prove themselves as someone who's new that wants to partner with someone with experience like yourself?
That's a good question. Generally, I don't JV with new folks. I like to take step by step. I will be a regular lender with them, and then I see how they perform in that. And then then the chemistry and other things are good with them, and it makes business sense as well. Then I will like step up to being a joint venture holder. And actually, that happened with me with, most of my existing JV holders at this time. They were my regular borrowers to begin with. They liked me. I liked their style. And then we thought as to, hey, let's do these deals together and put our efforts and monies into these type of deals together and do it that way. And also, if I come across some deal which I think is good, I do not want to be on construction sites and doing all the operations and management. I personally do not like doing that. But I do like to control the finances. I do like to control the project cost, quality, exits on time. I do want to function, as to a gatekeeper of, as to, hey, is it moving good enough? Is it moving fast enough? Are we going to meet our deadlines or not? If we are not going to meet, what other things are we going to do at this time? So I like to be a gatekeeper at that part, but I like somebody else to be managing the operations. And to get those people, it's a step by step. You have to qualify for each other to be able to come to the table together and do those type of complex deals together.
Yeah. You like to build relationships over time, and I think that's what most people should be doing in real estate because, yeah, I think everything you can go much further with someone else. I think as long as your complementing skill sets work well with each other. And so you have about 15 years of investing experience so far and lending experience. What are some of the big red flags that you make you hesitate, or when you're looking at a deal, even if the numbers look good?
If the numbers look good, and what could be the red flags? It's mostly around people. There are people who are, say, they have unrealistic expectations from real estate. In general, real estate carries a perception as to it's a get-rich-quick scheme, or, most of the times, it doesn't happen that way. Real estate is not crypto or, stocks or some things like that. It could happen in those situations. But real estate is more steady. It doesn't create magics. But, you can scale well. You can deploy tons of money into it. And it gives you lot of passivity to it. And if your mindset, your style is built for real estate, I think it could give you a wonderful lifestyle and freedom around it. But it's not for everybody, I would say. There are people who do stocks. They're good at it. They like to handle that part. And there are people who are good at real estate. And everybody is different, and you just have to see if you are meant for it or not.
What makes the people good at real estate versus who are not?
Okay, so I like simplicity in investments. To me, stocks is too complex. There is an information overload. Crypto is another different level, and those are definitely good strategies for some. They are not for me. I don't find them simple. Real estate, I find it simple. There are tax advantages for it, and you could relatively make it passive. And simplicity is the main thing which I like around it, and it gives you control which stocks or crypto or other things which you do not have around. There's no way to go ask Apple Computers as a company as to, hey, if your stock value is 500 now, can I buy it for 400 now? There's nothing like that. In a house, it happens day in and out, and we make money when we buy something. So to summarize, you can get undervalued deals. You can make money when you buy them. There are tax advantages. You can make it passive. It's a simple thing to understand. This had been going on for so long. And it offers a lot of simplicity to it. And to me, there's a lot less learning curve to real estate than it is to stocks.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the control that you have. I mean, there's many things that happen that are out of your control also, but I think as a whole, you have a lot more control in real estate than you do with stocks because just like you were saying, you have no control over Apple or any of the Tesla. Like, yeah, I mean, you could go completely dip tomorrow and there's nothing we could do about it.
Absolutely, yeah. And now this thing is getting looking scary with AI coming in picture as to how do you compete against those computers and how could you outsmart them or you join them or what you do. So I mean, it's that even you have even less of a control with AI in trading and those things.
Mm-hmm. What do you look for in a deal that most investors completely overlook besides like the numbers? Like, is there anything that stands out to you when you're looking at a deal that you're like, nah, I'm not going to do it?
So I look at a deal from primarily two perspectives as to return on investments. I mean, let's say if I get a housing project, let's say a single house, am I able to make at least 15 to 20% from the top? Like if I buy it, I fix it, cost to buy, cost to fix. And then there are other costs too, but I would say, I mean, 15 to 20% if I could make from the sale price, then as I start looking at it. And what was your other part of question?
No, I was just asking, like, what do you look for in a deal that most investors completely overlook?
I know what I look for. I mean, I don't know exactly what other people look or overlook. But I like to do deals which are more hairy, which are more sketchy, which have which have situations. And I like to see using time, money, and the things I know or people I know, if I'm able to solve those. I do like looking at those hairy deals, which most other lenders or other JV folks may skip.
Yeah. And can you give, besides the townhouse one, can you give other examples of some of these quote unquote hairy deals?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we are actually doing one, and that house should be coming soon. It's in the Sacramento area in El Dorado Hills. Serrano is the community, and it's one of the very nice communities out in that area on the way to Lake Tahoe. This is a house about 6,000 square feet built, and it'll be, I think it's over an acre, and it has a view of the Lake Folsom. So it's a luxury house, and it's in a gated community with golf courses and lakes and all what you would imagine. When we got in, it took us almost a year to actually from contract to close or from discussions to close, initial discussions to close. It took us almost a year. The property was lender owned. It was listed actually, and it was a regular lender here in the Bay Area. But by the time lender took title, there were so many issues. Permit about to expire. There were so many mechanic liens, and the borrower was suing lender. Lender was suing other things. It was very active, messy litigation going on in the court system. And having dealt with few court cases myself, I knew, I mean, how I sort of knew as to what lenders think when they are in litigation. And I know, how other parties who are there who look for it. And and as a buyer, we need a clean preliminary or title report. By the time we get it, free of all the litigation or all the claims and everything, that's how we wanted to buy it. Initially, it was not. The title company which we were presented, they were not willing to sign off on certain items. We were persistent. We kept on dealing with the lender, and we kept on telling that lender as to, hey, we'll take this, but this is going to be our price. But we are going to give you, money which is like good money now, and you're relieved of all those things. But we do need to make sure that we do not ourselves get pulled into that litigation as new owners. So we had to do our thing too, and slowly and steady, we were in touch with the lender, and we were there talking to him all this through. In a way, we were also trying to give her expertise as to this is, if you do this, we'll buy, and if you want to close it by this time, we'll do it. And all during this almost a year, things started turning down. Some of the litigation started falling. It came to a point where the title company was willing to give us a title insurance, which we were comfortable with, and that's how we closed it. And that was one of the good deals buying in. We went in with a lot of equity. And it was only a week away from permits getting expired. It was a permits for a new construction house, and we were lucky enough to work with the county there to get the permits revived. And they were supportive. They were helpful. They were actually pretty helpful about the situation with what had been going on, and we were able to do it. Yeah, and that house should be coming on market in about 3 months now.
So are most of the deals that you joint venture on at this point, would you say are more like new construction or luxury construction?
At this time, there are it's always a mix, but I have a few new constructions are going on at this time too. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's always a mix, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to do easy deals and where you could have enough margins, but those deals are hard to come by. Maybe you may get one off here and there, but if you want to deploy more funds to a good use and make money, then you need more set of it. For that, you have to expand your geographic area and also the type of deals you could be dealing with. And if those hairy deals come through, and if you like them, we'll take them over.
Yeah, the easy deals everyone's trying to get. Like it's very hard to get nowadays, and so I think that by you targeting these more complex deals, it definitely gives you an advantage because most people don't even know how to tackle these. So
Absolutely, yeah. So you need your systems, you need your people who are going to help you based on what situation the deal brings. And sometimes we are able to, sometimes we are not able. But the ones we are able to fix and move on, they may come in good chunk of money for us.
yeah. Everyone always talks about the highlights of real estate and all the wins. Can you talk about one of the losses or biggest learning lessons that you've had so far?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always losses, and those losses, they are the ones which are your real teachers. So I had this property in Lafayette in East Bay, and there was a property on a hillside. It has amazing views, 360 views of the hill. And that part of the Bay Area, the soil is very fragile. And when we went in, it had about 20, 30 feet of dip or soil erosion, which had happened. And it exposed all the foundations at the back. Before going in, I took my structure engineer and we collectively looked at the property and see as to what would it take to remedy this. And the structure engineer gave me its opinions, and I relied and believed on that. And but somehow that turned out to be a mistake. That problem was way too hard to solve, and we had an active erosion going on through East Bay mud with their pipes leaking, and the cost to remedy the whole situation was way higher than what we initially thought. And also we had some litigation going on too between insurance companies and neighbors and some other things too, which we also got tapped into and got some funds from insurance company. But eventually it turned out to be a money loser, and I lost a good maybe more than 50% of my invested capital in that thing, and also so much time which went into it. And we could not salvage it. I cut short my losses and moved on to next new things.
Was that one of the biggest quote unquote losses that you had up to this point?
I had other ones too, but that was totally real estate. I had other things where I invested in some businesses, and I lost money there too. And again, they were good teachers.
Yeah,
Teachers of life and teachers of business. Yeah, and but the way I look at it is as if in a quarter I do 10 deals and I lose on one, I'm not gonna think of one. I'm gonna look at 10 of them together. And if I had been growing my money, if I had been making profits on all 10 together, that's how I gauge my success. Otherwise humans have a tendency to look at something which didn't work out. I mean, they tend to give more weightage to that thing which did not work out. But to me, I mean, that kills your mindset. When you do business or anything in life, you're going to make mistakes. And you should be a little forgiving to your mistakes. Mistakes are the ones which are going to be learning lessons for you. And there is no business without mistakes. So, I mean, initially I used to be more scared and, hey, what if this happens? What if this happens? But every time those things happened, that actually made me a better investor. That had actually made me a better underwriter of deals. And that actually made me better at looking at all these hairy deals, which I can look at and then figure out creative solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what real estate is. It's just being a problem solver. And I say the faster you can get kicked in the nuts, which is what happens very often, especially to me, my first couple deals, the faster you learn, because you don't learn from the wins, you learn from the losses. And I wouldn't even say losses, just learning lessons. That's how you really learn. So how have you been able to develop this strong mindset? Because I know other people say they lose on their very first one or their second one, they just like give up. So how have you been able to develop this, especially after having lessons from other businesses you invested also? Like, was it something that you adopted from an early age? Was your parents, did they instill this confidence in you, or how did you develop this mindset and resilience?
That's a very good question about mindset. How did I develop it? I really don't know. I mean, and to me, I mean, I was a regular techie, and I was doing my job, and me and my wife worked. Actually, one salary was almost a saving. So we would just go and put money in our CD account and then keep it growing and pay taxes at the end of the year. And then sort of, that was our financial planning. A very, very poor financial planning to begin with. But I had zero mind. I was not thinking on all those things. And I really didn't know that a life like in real estate or business existed where you could put money to work and have money work for you and improve your life. And that's something which scales. Most of the mindset, I would say, I would give weightage to my parents and other religious or spiritual retreats they used to take us, actually force us at that time. But there was always that passive listening as to I'm playing in a playground and there is somebody saying certain things, and our parents ask questions as to, how it happened. And at that time, we used to find it very, very boring. But I believe they did have an impact in building our subconscious mind or our personality. And then coming here as an immigrant, I went to Australia too before. And you have to do your hustle. And that hustle from, coming with very little or nothing, just your education and your personality, and trying to learn from your hustle and succeed one step at a time, that gives you confidence to move on much more. And one of the biggest, one I would say is, when you really get into business and once you start dealing with people, you build expertise around as to how do you figure out, how much to trust which person and what are this person's good traits or what are this person's weaknesses. Are we complementary, and how we look at deals together. And in case these things do go south, what do we do about them? And actually looking at those and then collectively looking at them as to, hey, in the last 5 years, have I moved in positive direction or negative direction, or even every year or every quarter, whatever happens to be. And if and in my case, my ship had been moving in the right direction, fortunately. And that gave me confidence. And also, no matter, if I'm earning equivalent money in tech, doing whatever, nowadays, that kind of money, if you'll have to work crazy and you won't have a life left. I find this as a more better quality of money, which is a good balance between time and money. I could have my money working when I'm sleeping, when I'm doing whatever, I'm on vacation, I'm out of the country or whatever I'm doing. I have my money and investments, they're working for me. I don't have to be at a specific place doing certain things. Most of my things could be done on a cell phone, which is actual freedom and which is actually actual liberation. Versus if I could be a surgeon or a very high flying computer scientist earning maybe 10,000 an hour or something, I would not get this freedom with that. And again, real estate being simple, after you learn your basic knowledge in this thing, you don't have to evolve too much. Versus if I were doing cybersecurity and I had to be on top every day, I had to be reading, I had to get my CPEs, I had to go so many conferences, and I have to be up to speed what competition is doing. That is very, very active, engaging life. I'm over 50 years now. I do not want to invest too much into my learning. The actual the learning which happens through doing things, that is there. And I want my assets and money to be working for me and serving me than the other way around.
Yeah. So just to summarize, when you first started with you and your wife, you're using your salaries just to invest in CDs. This is kind of just how everyone kind of invests in the beginning, kind of just high yield savings account and CDs and your 401k. And then as you learned more about investing and learning about the importance of not just trading your time for money, you wanted to have your investments working for you, kind of just like an investor.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough to start as hard money, which hard money to me is one of the most passive ways to put your money to work for you and have enough control over that money. And maybe, that's how I build it. And I like that balance. In general, I'm a lazy person. I like to have plenty of time for myself in my day. I don't want meeting after meeting and hustle after hustle. I like to create those vacuums in my life. And this business or real estate in general, the way I've done it, it gives me that freedom. It gives me that freedom, which is paramount, which doesn't come with a job or maybe other type of businesses too. Which are very, very active.
Yeah. So if someone is wanting to get in real estate investing, totally brand new, say they're in their regular 9-to-5 W-2 jobs, what's your biggest piece of advice for them?
It's very hard to give advice out when you don't have the context. So, I will give you something. I have quite a few folks who have approached me, and I'm sort of an informal mentor to a few, especially when they get stuck in some situation here and there. This is a common thing I've seen here in the Bay Area. I mean, husband and wife work, and they are trying to do something in real estate. They have access to credit. They have money. Maybe they are trying to learn something. I mean, which they could, and I see that they could do it if they start doing it. My thing to them is as to, hey, if you have a house and if it has land, put an ADU there or expand it, or even a detached ADU, and start making income. If you have a duplex, maybe, I mean, or if you want to buy something, and if you want to buy a duplex or all the way up to fourplex, there are loans like FHA loans, which are only 3% down. If you're a veteran, VA, there are loans from government. You don't have to come up anything, I mean, from your pocket. And I've sold some of those properties to VAs. They just come up with maybe a lousy 5,000, 10,000. And I'm sure, I mean, if they do certain things, I mean, government will give those too. So that money is available to you. And imagine, I mean, if you buy a fourplex even in the Bay Area, I mean, and in some areas, you could get a fourplex for $1 million. And you live in one, rent 3 out. I'm sure in 2 or 3 or 4 years, you'll be living in that single unit for free for all your life. And all the appreciation is for you to keep. All the learning which you would do, being there yourself and trying to deal with those tenants and collecting those rent checks and following all the rules and other things which go with real estate, that'll be a very good learning experience for you. And that will be like a mini step towards your freedom too. But at least you'll have one unit for you to live free all your life. And if you go back and really look at, we live in Santa Clara County. 5-6 years ago, a fourplex used to be $1 million. Now it's about close to $2 million. And if you had done that, and now probably, and you would have paid down your mortgage, you have $1 million in equity, and you're living in your own thing for, actually you could live for free. And actually, if you refi, you could take money out too. And nowadays, those loans where there are rental incomes, they are cheaper in interest rate. And they are easier to get too. You don't even have to have a job to do those. I mean, as long as you get that rental income coming, those loans are so easy to get. So try to get into real estate, which maybe, I mean, if that's your first one, and if you could buy a fourplex and you start earning rental income, I think that's a good strategy. Some people call it house hacking too. I mean, doing it within a single house too. And that comes very natural. You have all the control. You have you have the best type of financing available. And you have a good learning happening in your house.
Yeah, I think that's a great start. House hacking. Even if you live in a condo, rent out 1 bedroom. So you have 2 bedrooms, rent out that 1 bedroom. Or if you can, ideally get a fourplex, live in one, get the other 3, put low money down loan. If you're a veteran, use a VA loan. You could use 0% down. Or if you do FHA, you could do 3.5%. But I think that's 100% the best thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, this country is built on debt and credit. If you have credit available to you, you do not use it, I think you are leaving money on the table. As in rich dads, I mean, there is a good debt and a bad debt. You have to see what you're going to use debt for. But if you borrow debt and you can earn more than what you give to the bank or the lender, and that debt makes you grow, then one should not shy away from getting that debt and improve your life.
Yeah. I want to switch up gears because I know you wrote a book, right? Buying Back Your Life. So you wrote Buying Back Your Life. What did you personally have to unlearn about money to actually get time back?
Actually, that book is being written as we speak.
Okay.
I had momentum and I wrote like initial sort of chapters around mindset and stuff. And I have to like add on to it. And I'll share that with you and get your comments too, or anybody who wants to and comment on. But I mean, the overall theme and framework is there. So my book is I met quite a few, I mean, financially successful people. Like I met a lady here in LA. She's pretty well off financially. She runs these assisted care living facilities in a bigger level. I mean, hundreds and 200s of them. My daughter had a situation in LA and we went there and we met her. She's a close friend of ours and she's living a very luxurious, nice lifestyle. But when we were here for a coffee or a tea at her place, she had this phone call coming and this phone call coming and somebody else bothering her or something going on in her life. We were there maybe 3-4 hours with her, but most of the time was with distractions. So then she somehow apologized to us, and also then she learned as to what I do. And then she started asking me first question was as to, hey, I lend money. It's passive. I mean, I don't have to be at a given location doing certain things. I only have to do certain things when payments stop coming or something else happens. So it gives me a very good balance in my life with time and money. And she said that I need to create that balance too. I said, I see that too. And that's how I started thinking. I gave her some tips as to, hey, this is what you could do. And but I also see, people who are successful, they have to be able to create a time balance between the assets they have. Assets could be properties and money and wherever, in stocks or whatever it is, or real estate, and how much time they have available to you, rather than in a constant desire to keep growing that money whatever way. I think one should also focus on as to how can this money be working to your advantage? How can that money be your employee? How can that money be your servant? As to, you put this to something, and every month or whatever frequency, some cash keeps coming. Let's say your expenses are 50,000 a month. If you get that money coming, and then you are free to use your time wherever, to me, that gives you real financial freedom. And that gives you, at least from my angle, that gives you more happiness, that gives you more health, that gives you more happiness and balance in your life. And that's where I started writing this book about how to balance your time and money, and or buying back your time.
Yeah. I think you got to put a value dollar amount to your time, right? So say, I don't know, you're working hourly. So say I'm a nurse in the hospital, right? Say your hourly wages, I'm just using numbers, like $100 an hour. If you can hire a virtual assistant to do things that you don't want to do, right? Like cold calling, and that's a $5 an hour thing. Like that's one example that you can use to buy back your time. What are some of the different ways that you've leveraged other employees or people you've hired to buy back some of your time?
So, I would give you this in another angle. The way I do it, I do joint ventures with other contractors and other people. It's not that, it's good to do joint ventures because I'm able to plug myself out of the jobs or tasks I do not want to do. They are much more time consuming. They gets my hand dirty. I have to drive to maybe Sacramento sometime, and then Hayward sometime, and be here and be there for inspections and all that stuff. I do not want to do it. So I partner up with other people doing this. And number one advantage is I'm able to scale. Number two is it gives me time freedom. I'm only like sort of controlling and supervising those projects from execution level, money level, or quality level, or in case things go wrong, what we need to do. Those moments are like very infrequent. It doesn't consume me much time. I could be on my cell phone and I could be having those things, but I do need those trusted, reliable partners who act as boot on grounds and run those shows. And that actually gives me a lot of freedom with time. And if I were to do those projects myself, maybe I could make much more money doing it just myself. I won't be able to scale it. I would only be able to maybe 2, 3, at a time or something. And I won't get that time freedom. I'll be engaged in all those daily activities myself, and it'll become like a regular active business. So to have that time balance, I like to do those JVs and then handle it that way.
Yeah.
Which is a win-win for both sides.
Yeah. That's how you build an actual business. If you are trading your time for money again, then you're just trading yourself for another job instead of actually another business where you can take yourself completely out of it.
Absolutely. There are times you have to do it, but if you're at a level and at a stage in your life, time becomes much more valuable, then one should look at as to how to use your assets to work for you than the other way around.
Yeah. So at this point, if you had to quantify how much hours you spend working in the business versus on the business, how many hours would you say that you work a week or a day in your real estate business?
I think daily my work is not more than 2-3 hours. I built this house, I built it for myself. So I had to engage my kids, my wife, and a lot of things as to, hey, what color kitchen we should have and what color painting we should do or how open the floor plan should be. I end up spending a lot more time doing this, but that was just for my own, happiness and my own life. But otherwise, my active work is not more than 2 hours a day.
Damn.
And that could be on a phone too. I could be here or India or wherever. Wherever I'm traveling, and the success. I'm able to do that because I have very good trusted partners working with me, and we work together. And that's a long term, and that's something which I've earned over time, and they make my life very easy and easy to happen.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. So if someone wants to become a lender, what's your biggest piece of advice for that? Do you think you can amass this huge amount of wealth being a lender first, or do you think you need a good amount of principal or capital to start with, or say someone is starting from the beginning, they should start with the active stuff first, like you're saying, doing the house hacking and all that?
Again, it depends on your situations and your desires. As to, in general, in my view, it's easier to make money when you have that money. It's harder to make money from zero, and your chances of making it, or chances of, doing it, become less. But if you have money, it's a lot easier. And if you try to get into lending, again, it is easier if you lend out your own capital and do it that way. But I would say, as to, if you have, but lending gives you less return as well. Versus if you actively do things and you take risks and you do that learning, and your learning tends to be a little more accelerated. And I would say do both. If you're beginning up, you have some capital assets to deploy, which is passive, which is sort of guaranteed income that gives peace of mind, that gives you, happiness in life, in my view, versus something going on, which is an active affair, which is an active business which you're trying to do. If somebody could afford to, they should do both. But if you are like a busy person who is having a good job and a good salary, and you have other assets at your disposal, rather than putting everything in a stock market or thing, you could diversify to something on lending too, and you could start earning that mailbox money, and it could teach you a thing or so down the road, especially when things don't work out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if someone was in a situation like me, say they have 1 foot in the door in real estate, 1 foot in their W-2, say they have a decent amount in their 401k and they have a house, would you recommend ever just rolling that into, say, the 401k into a self-directed and lending that into other people's deals? Would you keep it in the stock market? Would you cash it out? Like, what would your opinions be for that? Say they're trying to go into real estate full-time, hypothetically.
So you have a W-2 and you have some assets in 401k and otherwise, which you want to deploy. And your question is what you could be doing with your money, not doing much work on it. I would say, look for passive stuff, and hard money is one of them. There are ground leases, which is another very good thing. If you have a piece of ground and somebody leases it, generally that happens more on a bigger ticket items, not on a small, maybe 100k, 200k level. But lending is definitely one. And if you have a 401k, it's very easy to self-direct, especially when you leave previous employers or the funds have been rolled over. It's very, very easy process to do. And 401k money, you could also, it's easier to actually lend versus doing active deals because there are a lot of rules you have to follow. So 401k money becomes actually a good candidate for lending out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So what's your vision for the next 3 to 5 years? I know right now you're doing a bunch of deals. Are you involved in multifamily? Like, what do you envision for what you want to do in the next 3 to 5 years?
Actually, that's one area where I feel myself to be lacking, or that could be my strength too. I want to live my life now. I'm over 50 and I don't have huge goals as to I should be 100 millionaire or a billionaire, or I should have 50 homes, or I should have this going on. I do not have those type of goals. My goals are more present. I should have a good present life going for me. And whatever I've accumulated in my life, that should be working better for me rather than the other way around. Organically, whatever, I on the other side, I like to be productive too. I like to, when I do those deals, when I negotiate, and when I sit with my CPA and we are doing tax strategies, which I was just doing just before you came, I love doing those things too. I love teaching or coaching other people. If somebody comes to me, hey, I have this situation and I'm stuck, tell me, if you could help me, if I could, I would. Those things are happiness moments for me. And growing your net worth, those things are a happiness thing too, being productive. But that is not my total goal. I do not want to get into as to I want to be here at this time. I'm here. I want to live a life right now and have my assets serve me.
Yeah, that's great. Something I struggle with is I'm always thinking about the next thing. I'm always like very goal oriented. I don't know if this is something that you had at the beginning, or if your mindset has completely changed now that you've amassed this like decent amount of wealth. Can you talk me through that? Because like for me, sometimes I'm like, when I get to X, I'll be a little bit happy, or like I'm always looking for like the next thing.
To me, happiness is now.
Yeah.
And in future, I bet you, like, if your goal is in 5 years, I should be there. The way you think of that happiness now about being there, when you become there, that won't be the same level of happiness you'll be feeling, and that happiness will be you'll be chasing next one, next one, next one. So to me, I mean, happiness is in little things here and there. Happiness is in little wins here and there, and I like to create more of those on a daily basis rather than having very high level goals or something like that. And I just, I mean, again, I mean, to answer your question as to how was I before, I was very goal oriented to begin with. When I was in India, I had a goal coming from a very middle class family. Just father was earning in a government job. I mean, we were living in a single bedroom house back in India. The goal was to do your studies. That's what we were told. Get an engineering degree and get a good job. And I worked for it like day and night, and I was able to successful in the first hit. Was very happy about it. And then the next became I used to get a good job. I mean, I was happy about it. Then I wanted to come out of, India, come to US. I could not come here, a lot of recession and stuff, but somehow I got to Australia. I lived there a few years and did my thing. So the goals were very, very crisp. They were very, very traditional. Most of the time, initially, they were told by other people to me as to this is how your goal should be, which I kept on following like a bookwork. But after I became a business owner, then I started making more of decisions myself, and it gave me a lot more breadth and depth into how life should be, how one should be looking at it, what works for me, what others say, and how I could distill all that information and make it something which works for me. And initially, I did have goals as to, hey, I have this much money. I want to be producing this much. I want to be financially free. Maybe my expenses 5 years ago were like $30,000-$40,000 a month or something. Then how do I get that cash flow coming like without me doing much? And as that happened, and then I started becoming more lazy with my goals. I don't know if there is a word for it. Now, I don't put together those many goals or those many things possible. And whatever is happening, if it keeps on happening like this, I'm happy. But I do, take pride in growing it as well, and that is happiness as well. But nothing towards a specific goal.
Yeah. Living in the now is one of the most important things.
Especially in the age bracket I am. So, and to me, present time is the most important time, and I want to make most of it.
Yeah. So, what fires you up at this point? I mean, you have a lot of success. You have a lot of wealth. What fires you up and keeps you motivated to keep going at this point?
Frankly speaking, I like helping other people, especially when somebody comes to me as to, hey, I did this and it didn't happen. And or if they come to me or ask me for as to, hey, what you would have done in this situation, I would have given them pointers or something like that. When you shared me your story as to you did 2 deals and somehow certain things didn't match up, I wish you would have come to me and at least have me say a thing, and then if it makes sense to you, take it or not take it. Or I like coaching, I like mentoring, and I like helping other. In the areas which I know that is happening more frequently now than it used to. And that is happiness for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think give into the universe, give to other people, give unconditionally, and I think it will return to you tenfold.
Absolutely. The way I think is as to when we were kids, we had a very big mango tree. We used to take rocks and then throw it over and get those mangoes and enjoy those. Now I'm thinking as to the person who planted this for us, he's probably no. Even when we were kids, he was no longer there because that tree takes maybe 10-15 years to grow. And so somebody planted it for us and then we took advantage of it. Now it's our time to do something which others could take advantage of. And that's what we should take happiness in.
I love it, man. Well, Hemant, I really appreciate you sharing everything. If people want to get a hold of you, find out a little bit about Newbridge Equity or just get in touch with you, how can they do so?
The easiest way to remember is, newbridgeequity.com. If you go there, it has my phone numbers and email and all that stuff. So newbridgeequity.com is the place to go and get connected.
Awesome. Well, everyone, I hope you guys found value in today's episode. If you guys loved it, please share it with another person, like, subscribe, and I will give you the link to Newbridge Equity on the website and show notes. So, as always, I'm Lorenzo. This is Hemant. This has been The Lowdown. Thank you for tuning in. Love you guys. As always, keep going, keep taking action. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.